fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got with the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to
Oh my God!
Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, here we go!
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
So, Ozicar is back for 2021, and we kick things off with Season 5 of the Formula Skip Barber Series. We are here at Virginia International Raceway to open up this season, and returning up here in the booth, myself, Ryan Jones, David Haynes, alongside me, Jay Kennedy, as always, working the magic behind the scenes on the cameras, and occasionally talking crap in the YouTube chat with you guys as well. Looking forward to this one. Format hasn't changed, David. We've still got this really exciting race event ahead of us with 2 races, a sprint race and a longer race, the pit stop as well.
Yeah, exactly. Out and out sprint race to start us off, and then a little bit of strategy, a little bit of pit stops in the second one. It's a format that has thrown up a lot of excitement over previous seasons, so it's back, it continues. And an interesting selection of tracks for this season as well. But of course, we start here at VIR, a track I'm quite familiar with. And this great footage that we have shows some of the elevation, some of the character of this track. A lot of S's, a lot of multi-apex corners, changing radius. It is a track that follows the land, not land that follows a track.
Yeah, you're right, actually. I hadn't thought about it that way. It's a very descriptive way to put it. And it fits the track perfectly, I think. And you were showing me footage just before we went live of yourself driving around this place a couple years back in, I think it was a Miata. And you were punching on lap times, not too far off what these skippies have done in qualifying, which is just wrapped up. Let's take a look then at the starting grid for race number 1 tonight. It's Russell Clark that starts on the pole. Cameron Dance will start alongside him. James Chastanoff will start from 3rd. Michael Skerlock from P4. I'm laughing at our director's confusion to the overlays in the background. Nathan Verney will be 5th. Sean Doyle 6th. Matthew Mites, Jason Fewens share row 4 together. Breda Martin and Jeremy Bush make up the rest of your top 10. What about the rest of the grid? There we go, David.
Yeah, exactly. The remaining of the 21-22 cars is going to be Ira Felberg, Peter Wilkinson, Scott Melville, Leon Williams, Reg James, Matthew Joy, Philip Backett-Soulis, Mark Jeffrey, Darren Lasue, Isaac Summers, and Cameron Cousins. So a lot of very, very familiar names from previous seasons returning. That is a vote of confidence that they are back and excited for more of this car, of this season, and of this format.
Well, it's been incredible, and one of the things, well, the Aussie car format across its categories remains pretty much the same, but these cars especially, the level of slipstreaming and slingshot moves you see because of their, I guess, low downforce, having that ability to suck up behind the car in front gives us such an extra boost of speed, and it makes it difficult for the leader to get away, and I don't think we are going to see anything different today. This is a track where slipstreaming is going to be pretty powerful. That back straight's really long. This front straight's pretty damn long as well. There are plenty of corners you can get wrong. According to iRacing, there's 20. That number tends to change depending on which track map you're looking at. I counted 18, but somewhere in that region. 17 to 20, I think, is a general consensus. There's your track temp, track conditions as well. Only 7 laps. Lap times just on 2 minutes and 10 seconds as time wraps up. Revs rise for the first time in 2021. Aussie Car Formula Skip Barber Series is green. And away we go. Nice even start. Pretty easy to walk these things away from the line with their low power. Then when we get to turn 1, it's a battle of wits. Late on the brakes, you need to be to take the lead away from Russell Clark because he's got the inside. But check out Dance. Lunging around that outside line. A long first corner we have, and that allows Russell Clark to keep the spots.
He got a slot in now. He thought about trying to make it the inside for NASCAR Bend and left hook up here, but Russell Clark still leading for the moment. Cold tyres, he's sliding around with quite a bit of slip angle, and he really has to worry about everyone right in behind him.
Cameron Dance just slipped up a little bit on one of the curbs back there at turn 4, I think it was, but gets away with it, and now is working some of that slipstream here. You wouldn't think, looking at the track map, this is an area for slingshots, but it is, because we're only doing 180 kilometers an hour, and they're flat chat right now.
Yeah, it is fast up these S's. It's scary. It's easy to come undone, but it's difficult to pass. So that's let Cameron Dance stick right at the very back of Russell Clark here. We're coming into the oak tree. Pull one out for that oak tree. We miss it. He's got to worry about the 5-car train that are nose to tail right behind him. Clean through the oak tree and now onto the long back straight.
How about James Chastanoff up there in 3rd? That's really qualified. He's got a good start to maintain that spot, but we haven't seen much of him. And unfortunately, further back, Jeremy Bush has had an incident up front, just in front of Chastanoff. There's the move with the slingshot. Cameron Dance gets the inside, but if he can't complete it, there's an opportunity to fight back for Russell Clark. Far from that, Clark's going to lose 2 spots as Chastanoff capitalizes. Almost a change behind as well, so Clark falls to 3rd. On Chastanoff. Haven't seen much of him in Aussie car competition, but here we are. First race of the year, he's up there in 2nd now.
Yeah, very brave early to try to follow Cam Dance through there, and Russell Clark, I think at one point in the braking zone, they've realised he's going to have his day later on in this race. He's going to have an opportunity. Dance is thinking exactly the same thing now as he doesn't defend to the inside.
I think these guys know this isn't going to be a race that's won in the first 6 laps. It's more than likely going to be won on the final lap. There's no point fighting too hard right now. What you do have to do is make sure you stay in those first, I would say at max, half a dozen spots. Rounded out by Sean Doyle there in 6th. It is 6 cars that have broken away right now. Covered by 1.3 seconds at the line. A further 2 seconds then. Back to 7th place. Jason Fewens. And did you see there? A couple of cars just a little bit offline trying to get back to the right.
Without putting anything on him, because Oak Tree is a very, very difficult corner, did you find it slightly fitting that it was Jeremy Bush making contact with the tree?
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. And he will be hoping not to make that mistake again. But I suppose if it had to be someone, it had to be him. Oh, that's a little bit wide. Steady on. That's going to check up Nathan Verney. It was Skurlock that made the mistake. Coming up the top of the hill. He's going to escape without drama. And Verney's been put off pretty badly from that. Sean Doyle tucked up right behind him. But look, here we go again. Cameron Dance, the 2nd lap in a row, is 2nd, heading onto the back straight, and he is now 1st, heading to the end of the back straight. Russell Clark trying to repeat the moves of James Chastanoff. In fact, he's going to go a step further. Splits the gap, gets to the outside. Oh, he locks up and almost spun it into the right side of Dance. That was a little bit close. Chastanoff's going to use that little mishap to reclaim his spot as well.
Going to be a tough run through Hogpen then for him though, as he gets a little wide, and Skurlock has recovered from his issues at the far side of the circuit to be taking a look here at 3rd place, but I think draft-wise he's going to get hung out to dry, so he looks the other way, and now they're banging for 3 wide over 2nd place.
Thinking about it, not quite getting it. Russell Clark is where Dance was on lap 1. But oh no, there's contact! And turned around as Russell Clark. He takes Sean Doyle with him. And it was Michael Skurlock with the mistake. Locked up, got into the back of Clark that has caused all of that. 3 cars with damage.
Yep, not happy with that at all, and that's looking like almost a retirement there for Russell Clark because he's got a lot of damage on the car. We saw it live. We're going to see the replay. Just all starts Skurlock in a little bit too hot.
Right there. And Sean Doyle's so unlucky. He almost squeaked through. He was as far to the inside as he could be, and, well, Russell Clark, nothing much he could do there either, so really unfortunate for both Clark, and Doyle. There's another modem simulation replay of something else further back in the pack, David.
That's Cameron Cousins, has a little bit of a moment, finds himself on the grass, and then finds himself in the barrier. Matthew Joy also discovering on the exit of Hogpen, there's no joy if you get your tyres in the grass. He also gets collected, and that's a few cars with a bit of damage, seeing that there is no paved runoff around here at VIR, just the beautiful countryside. It's not so beautiful as a racetrack.
More racetracks need less paved runoff. It's all fine, because they've got plenty of grass to use up. They're not going straight into the barriers, in terms of it being real-world safety. I love this type of racetrack then, with all the grass and the gravel. It punishes you for your mistakes, and we've seen that already then on lap 3. There's just 2 cars left up front, 2 seconds back to Nathan Verney in third, who had to slow himself up a bit to navigate through the chaos at turn 1. Back here though, Mark Jeffrey and Reg James almost going wheel to wheel up at the top of the hill. This is the battle for 11th.
Nice little paint and stickers Reg James has for his car, but at the pointy end, it does not stop. That's dance around the outside of Chastanov into turn 1, and they're still going to keep it nose to nose through the apex of turn 1. If you're level on the exit, you want to be the car on the left-hand side. Has Dance been able to keep his nose in there? I think he has. That's where you want to be for this double left-hander.
Hearing of a big crash behind, though, as we cut away. That's a car in the pits. That looks like Matthew Mites. It is. Another replay. Thanks to modem simulation, Braden Martin potentially the other party involved. As we head towards the first corner. Jason Fewins is that car behind. Mites goes deep. Fewins goes through. Oh, there's Braden Martin. Add Martin to the list of unfortunate victims of others' mistakes.
Starting to become a bit of a long list, isn't it? Chastanov has gotten his way back into the lead. Here's Russell Clark, 3 wheels at Hamilton. A maximum on his wagon.
I think it's the same wheel as well that Hamilton lost. Doing a good impersonation there. Even pulls into the number 1 pit stall.
Bono,
My tyre is gone. Help. Up front, Chastanov. Dance. The duel continues. It's a bit of a dance between these two. They both know where they want to be. And it's not leading onto the back straight on the final lap, that's for sure, because we've seen every single lap, except the previous one, where Dance lifted off to avoid it. The car in second becomes the leader by the time they reach turn 13.
And the way they're going, it's really working out for them because Verney, Fewins, Skurlock and that like are no longer quite within touching distance. Here's another little battle. Rich James, Peter Wilkinson, Scott Melville joining the party here as well. Another great little 3-car battle.
Just see how this one pans out. There has been a change at the front, but pretty
at the roller coaster
sedate. Yeah. Oh, hold on to it. He really had to wrestle that thing back under control, didn't he? As Jason Fewins is up to P5 in this race. He started 8th. In fact, he's just fallen to 5th. He lost out to 4th there from Michael Skurlock recovering from his mistake earlier on. Chastanov is back in the lead of the race. That happened down the main straight. Up the inside for turn 1. He completed it pretty easily. There is Fewins. Settling in behind Skurlock now. Maybe he'll try to use some of his draft and get pulled along a little bit. Unfortunately for them, it's 5 seconds up the road to Nathan Verney, 7 seconds to the leading duo.
Exactly, of course, Skurlock got just tangled up in the Russell Clark and all of that stuff.
Well, he was the culprit for it, yeah.
Indeed, yeah. So he's gotten his way back on the mend. Here's the lead, going to change once again to the inside for the climbing S's. Right, that's actually a little bit further back than the lead, isn't it? But a great move nonetheless. It is on for the lead, though.
It is. I was just watching this.
It always is.
How do you describe the 5th attempt of the same move differently? Well, you don't. It's happened again. Dance by Chastanoff on the back straight. Now, Chastanoff at this point, he knows he can't begin the last lap in the same place. He needs to be here. He needs to be the chasing car. But Dance will probably open the door for him if Chastanoff doesn't go by on the next lap. It's going to go by now. Does Dance just sit behind now for this penultimate lap that we've just begun? Don't try to make the move. Make Chastanoff lead you onto the last lap.
Start counting backwards on the abacus, working out how many more overtaking zones there is between now and the checkered flag, but their lap times that time basically identical.
.208.8 though for Michael Skurlock. He goes fastest of all back there in 4th, and he's certainly pulled Fewens with him, as he's still there, tucked just behind his rear wing and his gearbox and whatever else is tucked away at the back of these Skip Barbers.
A random container as well on the left-hand side of the crash structure that looks like it's just zip-tied in there. I love that about these cars.
Oh yeah, if we go on board with Cameron Dance here, we'll likely see it. There you go.
Coolant overflow or something?
I don't know.
It's got a little carrier like on the back of, you see for gas bottles on caravans and stuff.
Yeah, what goes to the back of the race car? Maybe someone can tell us what they reckon that is. Overflow of some sort, potentially. Alright, let's see. Cameron Dance is in position. But I reckon, even already, he's already backed off just a little bit. His purpose
was all out of sorts through the oak tree, and I think maybe trying to force Cam Dance to pass him here.
Not going to happen.
Is it going to happen?
Well, you would think not. You wouldn't want it to happen if you're Cameron Dance, but Chastanoff wants him to go by him at some point. Or he needs to drive the lap of his life to break free of that stranglehold.
Vernie's got a problem. From 3rd, he's dropped all the way back to 5th now.
Has he made a mistake on his own? He's made a couple of mistakes, actually. He was off the road at turn 13, but he also went off the road at Oak Tree. Final lap.
The last lap into turn 1, they're going to go side by side, and Dance wants it.
Dance wants it. He wants the win. Cameron Dance is a hard-fought competitor. He strives for success, don't we all? But unlike a lot of us, he can actually get it.
Some harder than
When
others.
he puts his mind to it. And there's another car running into drama. Is that Scott Melville? He was having a pretty decent race, up 3 spots. And he falls back to where he started. Back on board. Remember, still another race to come after this as well. You don't want to throw away everything because overall points are still going to matter at the end of what is still a short season, even with the extra round we've added onto the back of it. This Dance is now going to have to set himself up out of Oak Tree. He needs to be golden through here. They both need to be golden, David.
Yep. Most important drive off the corner of the whole race is that there for Cam Dance, who's now in the slipstream of Chastanoff and needs to get around at the roller coaster. But do you go left? Do you go right? Which side do you defend? And how do you attack?
Chastanoff has done enough here. Look at this. Dance is going to have to fight hard to complete this one. If Chastanoff can keep the car there, that's exactly what he does. And through turn 14, trying to hold on to the lead of the race. Dance trying to take it away from him. Just about does clear him. And Cameron Dance on the last lap sets himself up, gets the move, but there's still the run to the line. Is Chastanoff close enough to slingshot back by? I don't think he is. Cameron Dance from 2nd on the grid, coming ever closer to the start-finish stripe, wins at Virginia International Raceway by 1/10 of a second over James Chastanoff. What a scrap.
clean in the end, but very hard fought in who is going to be positioned where for that critical final lap, and a couple other battles coming to the line here where Peter Wilkinson looks like he's going to be able to keep himself ahead of Leon Williams. Ira Felberg just up the road from them. Michael Skurlock finished third, though, with the fastest lap of the race, so that bodes well for the next race. He just didn't quite keep it clean enough in race 1.
So, Cameron Dance wins in the Skip Barber Series, a sentence I for sure have said many a times before. He begins 2021 on the right foot. Let's look at our results at the end of our sprint race. It is Dance from Chastenhof. Michael Skurlock ends up on the podium. Despite the drama at turn 1, 6 seconds away, though, from the race lead. Nathan Verney 4th, Jason Fewens in 5th. Sean Doyle ends up P6. After being an unfortunate victim to an incident not of his own doing. Ira Felberg comes home 7th behind him. Peter Wilkinson, Leon Williams, and Mark Jeffrey make up the rest of your top 10. Good drive from Jeffrey, up 8 spots.
Reg James up 4 spots into 11th, and then it was Scott Melville, Jeremy Bush with his early incident, recovering from that one. Darren Lesieux, Matthew Joy, Philip Bakatsuolis, Isaac Summers, Matthew Mites, Braden Martin. 3 laps down there. Same 2 for Russell Clark with 3 wheels on his Milo wagon. And Cameron Cousins, I think, 5 laps down in 21st there. Good race 1. I think a great start to the season.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant, and we're going to do it again. Race 2 coming up, slightly longer, a pit stop as well. But in the meantime, take a look at your schedule. Take a look at Virginia International Raceway and get ready for the second half of the evening here on Simspeed TV. International Raceway we've already seen as a pretty good opener to this season. I had my reservations about it. It's a big old track and these Skippies are low-powered cars, but it's done quite well. Then we head off to Daytona.
Another track where we're going to be talking draft, but, well, it's de rigueur in the world of road racing to think about Daytona in January. Certainly a very pretty track, a very historical track. And round 3. Go to New Hampshire on the road course. Not one that gets used that often, but I tell you what, some of those banking in the corners that are outside of the confines of the oval, very interesting for these lower powered cars.
Almost as big as the banking on the New Hampshire oval itself, which is traditionally quite a flat oval track. Going to be interesting when we head there. Even going to be even more interesting when we head to Long Beach in January 28th. Newest street circuit to iRacing. This is going to be really tough on these cars. The bumps, confines of the concrete on either side. Could very well be a race of attrition, or it could be an absolute sensational event. Following up with another oval visit. It's the road course at Phoenix, circa 2008.
Yeah, an interesting one. Very, very tough coming off the oval and into the interior road course on that one. I've struggled with that multiple times. It's a bit of a car park on the inside, but no excuses to not own the track.
I am not even going to attempt.
You mean the Nürburgring Industriefahrten?
Yeah, that. I'm not going to attempt the quarter names on February 11 either.
Dibs.
100 and whatever odd corners there are. Then we head to Bathurst. A little bit easier. I think we all know the quarter names here. Round 7. That's the Enduro as well, I do believe. That is going to really put the test on both man and machine when we get to the endurance racing aspect of the season. Let's take a closer look, though, at where we are right now at Virginia International Raceway. You could probably tell us a good bit about where it's located, David.
Yeah, I mean, sort of right up against the North Carolina border in the heart of Virginia there, just outside of Danville. You've got to drive through North Carolina to get to VIR from Danville. You can just take a peek at the go-kart track on the outside of Turn 1 there. That's a good go-kart track that I would recommend. But It's out in the sticks, it's in the forests and the fields, and it is built into the natural elevation. That's why you get great corners like the climbing S's, like the roller coaster, which scares the life out of you as you're approaching it at speed and the track just drops away. A real challenge of Hogpen, of the big braking zone into turn 1, of trying to get the apex and not track out too far at left hook, turn number 5 there. And of course, pour one out for the oak tree, but it's still a great corner, and descendant of that tree is planted on the outside of the circuit. Its offspring continue.
You've done a hot lap or a dozen around this racetrack. Talk us through this one.
Yeah, my lap's also Mazda powered, but in a car that weighed a little more than the Skip Barber Formula 2000 from Nathan Verney, who we ride on board with, and we take a look at the various angles of that. So, track bending a little bit towards the right there as you approach the braking zone, as Nathan Verney finds out, but you do have those helpful markers to spot exactly where you are going to brake. And then it just keeps going on the exit as well, keeps turning right. It's a very, very long corner, but then you need to set up for the decreasing radius left-handers here. A little bit of a left-hander, and then it tightens further into the next one. And you approach the second big stop of the lap. This is one you turn in across the curb. Normally you want to hold it a bit further to the left before the double right-handers that feed you onto the lower S's. One line through here, bouncing across the curbs. 1, 2, 3, 4. Underneath the bridge that has had multiple things on it. It was a Nissan sign, I think, when I was there last. And then right turn-in point for the climbing S's. Flat out, I suspect, in these cars and in a lot of cars, but there's others where you need a bit of a courtesy lift, a bit of stabilization, and across the top of the hill you've got to turn in here. The rear wants to get away, as you see as you go over the crest there, and setting you up for Oak Tree. Big braking zone, a lot of downshifts. You've got to make sure you absolutely keep tightening the car up to that exit so you can open the power. On a hot lap, in qualifying, very critical to get the power down smoothly there, but in a race situation, even more so, as we've seen in race 1 with the slipstream down the long back straight that also climbs a little bit. And in these lower horsepower cars like I've driven, and like here in the Skip Barber Formula 2000, that just adds more drafting effect. It's downhill for a little bit of a dip, braking late, turning left, and then into the right-hander of the roller coaster, and the track really drops away through this section. A lot of fans and their motorhomes there to wave at you, and then the final corner, Hogpen, approach at speed, and you've got to turn the car in with blind faith and hope that it grips as the track comes back up to meet you. That completes a lap here at VIR.
All the dogs are kicking off in the booth. I heard your little... Is that a chihuahua you got, David?
No, I don't have a dog. I've got a new neighbour who's moved in the last week, and they have a dog. And the poor thing, of course, whenever a dog moves into a new house, always the first couple of weeks, so barky because they're unsettled.
Yeah, well, if anyone had the displeasure of sitting in the comms boxes at David and I, or anyone that gets to work with Jay, you would think Jay's been moving into new houses almost every week. And the way his dog goes off every time Jay opens his mouth, which I think we can also sympathise with, can't we? But I think
he went there. He really went there.
I went there. New year, same me. That's the saying, right? Let's take a look at our second half of the evening. Are we in practice or qualifying right now? Because I'm not in this session. Qualifying's begun. Brilliant. So they'll get 2 laps, 3 laps, whatever they can fit in pretty much, to try and put down at the best time possible. And it is a brilliant session for drivers like Russell Clark, who really did not enjoy where they finished in race 1. It can be a pressure-cooked session, though, for drivers like Cameron Dance, who are looking to build on a strong race 1, don't want to start on the back foot.
Right, and there's a lot of corners here that are the type that will unsettle you on the cold tyres. We've seen, turning into the roller coaster, downshifting and turning and braking, and downshifting and braking and turning and tightening into the oak tree, and across the crest on the exit of the S's here, all places where the rear of the car wants to get a little bit skatey. Russell Clark wants to avoid that on his first lap, because look at how much energy he's trying to put into those tyres, get some temperature. Lucky for him, it's 5.2 kilometres about that to try to build that temperature.
Yeah, well, it's generally the well, in these cars, a long track as well. Probably the second lap, the fastest. You know, you're warming the car up with the first one. You're probably going over the edge of their optimum performance by the end of the third lap, aren't you, David? So it's the second one that really counts. The first one, though, gets you in the groove, gets those tyres up to the temperature, and, well, the outlap is just wiggle, wiggle if you're Russell Clark, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm looking at this. Be about 7 minutes 30 left when he gets to the line. Laps are just over 2 minutes. So, yeah, I guess he'll manage to get all 3 in from here, I think, for Russell Clark as he comes through Hog Pen, ceases some of the weaving, puts his serious face on. Who is it? Skurlock that's got the smiley face on their helmet? Not so much of a serious face. Oh, there it is. Yes, beautiful. But I tell you what, underneath, it's probably a more serious face right now as he also begins his first of 3 qualifying laps.
I've seen Skurlock's serious face. It's terrifying. I'm glad he's got the
I've seen your
bells.
regular face, equally terrifying.
Ditto. So, into turn 1, there's Reg James. We saw him in amongst some of the action in race 1. He's got that car through the first corner pretty nicely. Met the apex well and gets the power down nice and early. Now he gets ready to set himself up for turn 2 and 3. Flat out through 2. Then starting to wind it down to turn 3. And turn 4, this is a corner you struggled with in real life. You want to exit on the left so you can set yourself up for turn 5 here and get the run onto what is a flat-out piece of the racetrack. If you
That's what I was told by my number 1 driving instructor, Jeff Tyler, so if he's to be believed, that's the correct line in these lower horsepower cars.
Yeah, if you compromise the enter and you stick to the right, you got a shallower line, you're not going to be able to get on the throttle early enough, and you're going to lose time pretty much all the way up until the top of this hill, because you don't lift off from there until up here.
It is sort of 5 apexes that all feed into each other, isn't it? I mean, it's a tightening left into a tightening left into the left-hander at left hook there, and then that feeds into the double right-hander into the lower S's. So, yeah, to get the correct line through there, to get the throttle open fully and keep it open, is obviously worth a lot of time.
Who else we got running around at the moment? Looks like Sean Doyle's coming towards the final stages of his lap. Let's check in with him because he should be in amongst the competitive drivers at the front of this session. Russell Clark as well near the end of the lap. Skurlock, add him to the list. Here we go. Time's going to come on the board for qualifying ahead of race 2, 11 laps in length. All at the same time, a 9-1, a 9-3, a 10-3 from Dance, Skurlock, and Doyle, respectively.
We always look to the first laps for a little bit of a guide, but aware that the second lap is probably where some of the best times are going to come in. We're going to keep seeing improvements from a lot of our drivers, as almost everyone now with a time on the board. It does look like all 21... No, we've lost 1 driver from race 1 to race 2. Is it Cameron Cousins?
Yep. We've lost Cameron Cousins, unfortunately, at least for now. There's one of the 111 esports cars just beginning another attack. And there's Matthew Joy. We found him in the fence, or turned around at least, in the early stages of race 1. So he's another driver, thankful for another qualifying session.
Massive understeer in the words of Jensen Button there. That is not taking the narrow exit to line it all up. And in qualifying, that is regrettably not allowed for Matthew Joy. So scrub that back.
His lock. Back off now. Keep those tyres in check. Make sure you've still got life for the third lap. They don't wear excessively or anything, but when a tenth of a second, half a tenth makes a difference, you'll notice it from lap 2 to lap 3 if you go in full beans all 3 laps. Cameron Dance at his favourite overtaking spot of the racetrack, the back straight, really gets it up onto the apex at 13. Misses it at 14. Is that a mistake? Is that his line? Certainly you've got to slide these cars a bit to get them around, and Got to make some compromises when corners feed into the other, such as they do around places like Virginia International Raceway. Let's check his lap time then when he completes this lap. Should be pretty damn quick. 2:08.9, finds 0.2 of a second. Michael Skurlock found only half a tenth. Russell Clark found 0.6 of a second. But not massive improvements there, are there?
No, maybe part of what contributes to that is this being a big lap, a longer out lap. The tracks we've visited, they're a lot shorter with tinier out laps. You start the first flying lap with, quite cold tyres, whereas here, maybe just have a little bit more time, a couple more kilometers to get them in place. That could contribute to it, but they still all went a lot of improvements on the second flying lap. Dance Skurlock, Jason Fewens now improving as well. And some improvements on the third flying lap would not surprise me, but there's been no time yet from a man who gave us such great battling in race 1, James Chastanoff. Is this going to be the first valid lap from him?
Well, he is only on his first lap. Doubt he's going to get he's not going to get all 3 laps in. In fact, he's not even going to get a second lap in here. So, Chastanoff is going to have to put in an absolute blinder of a first lap if he wants to put himself in contention, at least off the start of this race. Let's see how it stacks up as he crosses the stripe. His one and only attempt in race 2 qualifying puts him 4th on the grid for now. It's in the ballpark.
Looks like not enough time, and that is tail out 3 bites at the cherry, counter steering into that one through turn 1. So even if you got to finish that one, that's not the smoothest or cleanest start we've ever seen. Cam Dance, currently on pole, is going to get to finish this one. Nice 4-wheel slide, keeping it within track limits through the hog pen. But on the exit later on, that is outside ways. And Cameron Dance is throwing that one away. I'm going to call that an unsafe pit entry.
Yeah, might get
Take the
pinged by
race one win
stewards
away
for
from
that. Please. Skurlock can't find an improvement on his third lap. He will start no higher than second. Russell Clark, though, puts himself second. Clark, in doing so, knocks Skurlock to third. Good lap from Russell. Not going to have the pole that he had in race 1, though. Greg James picked up on him early on in this session. What's he going to do on his final lap? Currently 17th. And he will stay 17th. He did not do a 156 and blow the field out of the water by 23 seconds. He did a 12.8, though. And he's only a 10th away from the next spot up the order. So pretty close between himself and Scott Melville with just 21 seconds left in the session. Matthew Joy registers a 2:14.4. Puts himself 19th. Only Isaac Summers will finish the session without a registered lap time. Unfortunately for him, that means he will start off the back of the grid. Let's take a look at that grid then for our 11-lap feature for round 1 of the season here at Virginia International Raceway. Cameron Dance on the pole. Russell Clark alongside. Skurlock and Fewens share the second row ahead of Chastanoff and Nathan Verney. Sean Doyle and Matthew Mites are on row 4. Breda Martin and Peter Wilkinson, 9th and 10th.
And it is a very evenly rounded out 20-car grid, because in 11th is Jeremy Bush with Ira Felberg 1 spot further back on the grid than in race 1. And Mark Jeffrey in 13th with Leon Williams in 14th. Philip Backatsoulis in 15th with Scott Melville in 16th. I think threw away the final lap there. Might have over-pushed the limits, overstepped him. Reg James in 17th, Darren Lessu in 18th, Matthew Joy in 19th, and Isaac Summers, like you rightly pointed out, the only driver without a qualifying time in that session. I'll tell you this as well, our hot lap video, very, very comprehensive. There's one feature of this track it didn't cover, which is the snack stand, very handily located on the outside of turn 4.
I'm sure you're very familiar with that, aren't you?
Yeah, they've got a vending machine with cans of Monster Zero Ultra.
Of course they do.
As the shed, but there it is. In that building, you've got the race supplies on the right. In the middle, you've got generic VIR merchandise, and on the left, where everyone's standing, and then the deck, that's where you can get your burgers, your chips, your fries, your Mountain Dew.
There you go. If you ever need to go to Virginia International Raceway, David Haynes is your guide. There is the track. Big thanks, as always, to Simfinity and Prestige Badge, Trophy, and Engraving for their support of the series and of Ozicar. Without them, this is not possible.
Ice there if you need it, but this race is about to get taken off ice.
Time's up. Race 2. Let's get this one moving. 11 laps at Virginia. Who walks away with the win this time? Throw in a pit stop as well. Plenty of questions to be answered as the lights go out and we get moving. Very good start from Cameron Dance. Actually got a much better jump than Russell Clark. He's going to be home free into turn number 1. Skurlock has got Chastanoff right behind him on the inside as Skurlock goes well deep into that first corner. Gave a bit of incentive to Chastanoff. Don't think he's going to be able to do much with it where he is now. Has managed to jump up ahead of Jason Fewens though, so he's gone at least +1 already.
Couple drivers kicking up the grass through the opening sectors, but no big incidents or contact yet. I'd probably put the jinx on that one. But clean start from everyone up front. Cameron Dance really did step away cleanly, but Clark is right with him through the lower S as they go for the first time. The only mover in the top 9, James Chastanoff moving up 1 spot at the expense of Jason Fewens.
So, up the hill, you can see the elevation there as they meet 1, 2, 3, and 4 apexes eventually. Just off shot. Whoa! Around for Nathan Verney. Can he hold on to it? Not Verney. Fewens. Yes, he can, but he's going to lose a whole bunch of spots. That was right in front of Nathan Verney. He had an eyeful of that. And that is a textbook example of what can go wrong at Flat Chat. Going left, right very quickly.
And the times that doesn't end in tragedy are few and far between.
I hate you. I
hate myself incredibly, but he was very, very fortunate to be able to save that one, get it going once again, and everyone else heads up. It shows that is one of those very committed corners. You've got to breathe on the throttle a little bit as you come through there, and he tried to turn in with 2 tyres on the grass and had no luck with that at all. Russell Clark has gotten to the lead ahead of Cameron Dance, though, who's going to go for a pit stop.
On lap 1, it's been favoured by so many over the history of the competition. Cameron Dance.
Gamesmanship early.
The old fake, and they are 2 abreast coming in behind them, though. That was Nathan Verney behind Sean Doyle. Matthew Mites, Braden Martin, Jason Fewens, also being joined by Ira Felberg, Mark Jeffrey, and Matthew Joy, and Darren Lassou. Check this out.
Yeah, James Chastanoff getting very, very aggressive before the pit stop, trying to go around the outside, around the inside of Cameron Dance. No such luck. Russell Clark holds the lead. Skurlock back there in 4th. Maybe Russell Clark doesn't hold the lead now.
I heard the bodywork goes straight then, as that car almost beached itself across the curb. There's another awfully nasty curb on the exit of Oak Tree as well. Can do a bit of damage to the undersides of these cars. Luckily, they are only relatively short races. It allows Dance through. Not much of a retrieval. He is still going to be under all sorts of pressure in about 35 seconds' time. This is where Fewens lost it on the first lap, and look how close Chastanoff got to the back of him. I thought he was going to push him into that corner then.
Dance might be playing a little bit of games here. Chastanoff does not seem to have time or patience for those games. Look at the angle from Dance. We mentioned that's a place you probably want a good exit. Really not one from Cam Dance. Look how close second place is, gathering speed up the hill.
Watch out for Russell Clark here as well. Remember in race 1, he split the middle, took the lead away after being 3rd. He's not quite got the same momentum, but he could potentially spring a move similar at some stage. Chastanoff leads us from Dance, from Clark, from Skurlock, your top 4. 8.5 seconds back to 5th, courtesy of just under a dozen drivers pitting on that first lap.
Yet more gamesmanship, and it's Michael Skurlock who's going to be the first of our top 4 pack to blink and take their pit stop. Russell Clark thought about it, led Michael Skurlock in that direction, backed out of it to stick with Chastanoff and Cameron Dance, who I'm sure he believes are his biggest and main rivals.
What's the impetus to make that move that we've seen from Cameron Dance and Russell Clark now?
Maybe just a late decision, like you'd do it if everyone else was, but then you see no one else is and you back out of it, or I don't know, what's ever the point.
Hopefully we can ask them once this race is done. As Skurlock rejoins, only narrowly in front of Nathan Verney, Doyle, and Reg James is actually just up there as well, but I don't believe he has made a pit stop. He's slightly out of position and might be the best friend of Michael Skurlock if he keeps those 2 cars behind him.
Yeah, exactly. Doyle, Verney, Mites, Thalberg, all behind Reg James. Michael Skurlock emerging from the pit lane in front of him. Could be very, very important. Whoa, huge accident with Reg James.
Yep, I heard that, and there it is. That was Sean Doyle that went up and over the old barrel roll. Reg James looks like he's got some pretty significant damage as well. Modem Simulation is going to tell us what on earth happened here. Well, forcing a gap that wasn't there, or a gap shutting from James. Hard to tell from that angle, but probably didn't need to happen.
Result was a huge incident. Rotations around one axis for Reg James, rotations around the other for Skurlock there, it looked like. And others.
All right, so up front, it's still Chastanoff and Clark. Unchallenged at the moment on the racetrack. Cameron Dance is pitted. That's why he's not in the picture. Look for him to rejoin right near Michael Skurlock, who's been given a good break by that incident behind, other than Nathan Verney chasing him down. Dance has really blown Skurlock out of the water there. Look at this. Can't even see him.
Yeah, certainly has. It was a good jump. By the time Dance was making his way out of turn 1, Skurlock was not yet on the brakes for it there. So that's a couple seconds in hand for Cam Dance. Looks like it's 3 or 4, which is beyond the range of the slipstream, which is absolutely critical and kind of puts some holes in the plans for Skurlock, though. It seems he can be very quick. We saw that in race 1.
Skurlock, raw pace. One of the fastest drivers, I reckon. But maybe not quite practicing as much as some of the other folks, and is why he doesn't often contend for the outright wins, but certainly a damn quick driver. And Cameron was 2 seconds quicker than Skurlock in his transit time of the pits. Just getting in and out a bit quicker.
Peter Wilkinson making a move there with a low downforce spec on his front wing, and then through the roller coaster. Lap 4 of 11. This guy's going to have to make a pit stop at some point.
So is that the Williams spec front wing?
I'm not sure.
Thanks. Chastanoff looks, considers, and commits, and Russell Clark goes with him. Slow indeed. Picked up on there by our director. A slow entry for James Chastanoff. It means that Russell Clark had to just be a bit more cautious than he might have wanted as well. And it might mean that Cameron Dance is looking at a race lead once more. There's pit exit. There's no cars. Here comes Cameron Dance. Clark has jumped James Jastanoff, but Clark has not jumped Dance. It's just occurred to me Chastanoff and Reg James could be teammates, because their liveries are identical.
And I can forgive myself for tripping up on that one in race 1. So both of them following the same strategy as well, and they get going, but it's not a quick return to speed for Reg James. I think there's still damage on that car that might not have gotten fixed.
Yeah,
yeah,
those
that does
front
not look...
tyres aren't pointed the right way, and
you can see what
missing...
brand of boots he's wearing, and that's probably not a good sign.
So, lap 5, and pretty much the whole field was pitted. We're just waiting on 4 cars to make their stops. Here comes Backett Sulis on Peter Wilkinson. One of the quartet yet to make the move. These guys are a long way away from Jeremy Bush and Leon Williams, though, so not in a great position, this overcut strategy. And in fact, Cameron Dance is being held up. Look to the left. Cameron Dance trying to go the long way around the outside at Oak Tree, and he actually got out onto the grass there. Really doesn't want to be held up. Russell Clark will be seeing this up the road and hoping that Dance gets held up. It's not going to happen. He'll make this move. Backett Sulis will now have Russell Clark behind him in a few moments' time. Still got Wilkinson to navigate, though, does our effective race leader.
Yeah, all of a sudden, Wilkinson and Backett Sulis find themselves right in the midst of the functional lead battle. Dance gets around. Backett Sulis is going to follow on Wilkinson, and Russell Clark is going to be staring at him too wide, puts his nose to the inside of the hog pen, and it doesn't end well for anyone.
And Backett Sulis is off the road as well. Look at Chastanoff right on the back of Russell Clark. They were nose to tail. They all checked up, except for this bloke. What a run he got. And he's going to put himself net second with that move. The gap from Dance to Chastanoff, 2.7 seconds. What a pit stop cycle for Cameron Dance. Michael Skurlock has vied into the podium battle as well with the fastest lap now.
2 from 2 on the fastest laps for Skurlock. Potentially, he was just far enough back off that battle that he managed to get through without some of the fussing and bothering of Dance, of Clark, of Skurlock.
Told you, raw pace, Michael Skurlock.
It's all in the helmet.
Smile. Fake your way through it. Or terrify people with your helmet design. Either one works. So
Yellow helmet
Skurlock,
worked for Senna.
it did indeed. So Skurlock probably in a spot to make a move at turn 13. Although, Russell Clark is going to get the benefit of a James Chastanoff-shaped slipstream. So, I wonder if Chastanoff's going to lose 2. Or whether Russell Clark's going to gain 1 and lose 1, or whether they're all going to be in the same spot in about 10 seconds' time.
I think James Chasty, as the YouTube chat would like to call him, I think he's got just enough length, just enough time in hand there. If he was car length further back, you think Russell Clark would get him. But now it's closer to a 50-50 or the advantage Chasty.
Paul, that was no change. How about that? They all did a good job of cancelling each other out through Oak Tree and getting the run. There's the live gap, 3.3 seconds from our effective race leader, about to become the race leader as Leon Williams decides it's time for him to meet the pit lane. Nathan Verney in 5th is pretty lonely as well, it should be mentioned. He's got Wilkinson a little ways behind, but Wilkinson hasn't pitted yet. So he's not really fighting anyone on the racetrack right now, Verney. He'll be hoping these 3 get tangled up with each other and maybe he can pick up a few spots.
Need a bit of Skurlock magic because Cameron Dance has just gone with all the clean air he's got and set the fastest lap of the race, pulling away from these 3 and stealing that title from Skurlock while he's at it.
Scott Melville in 11th. Looks like he has just made a move on Mark Jeffrey. Jason Fewins had a good view of that. Another 3-car battle in this race. A little ways off the front, but more action actually happening back here because here goes Fewins. Opportunistic as ever. Makes that one sick and puts himself up into 12th. Not a good lap so far for Mark Jeffrey, losing 2 spots already. Might be able to get them back by the time the lap is over. We check back in with Russell Clark behind James Chastanoff, ahead of Michael Skurlock, and still a decent gap between the 3 of these cars.
This angle though, it is shortening the distance. Big head of speed from Russell Clark. Picks to go to the left where the track initially goes before it then follows right in the main part of the corner and can't hold firm there. It brings Michael Skurlock yet closer in this 3-car battle, 2nd, 3rd, 4th.
Be interesting to see what their lap times are compared to Dance on this lap. Are they working together, trying to catch Dance? Let's see. Cameron Dance at the line, a 2:09.1. Chastanoff, a 2:09. Yeah, that's not working. So Chastanoff is 2/10 slower than Dance. Working together, you would actually want Russell Clark to slipstream by up the back straight. Chastanoff to slipstream back by the main straight. But just holding stations for now and losing a couple tenths to the leader.
The logistics of that kind of operation gets a little more tricky when there's 3 of them who need to work together than just 2 people leapfrogging back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. The trust starts to erode when it's more people that need to be involved in that kind of arrangement. Russell Clark bounces across the curbs and doesn't get the greatest exit off the lower S's, and that is just another little breath of reprieve to the 2nd place runner.
Clark is closer this lap. That much is for sure. It was 2 tenths quicker on the previous lap. And as long as he doesn't make a mistake through Oak Tree, I smell a move at turn 13. Chastanoff is particularly good on the brakes, I've noticed. Just down the hill there, a little dip in the road. He pulls a car length or 2 at a very critical time.
Speed off the corner is important, but he's keeping the speed into the corner as well. But I don't think it's quite enough with how severe this draft becomes in 5th gear up the hill on the back straight. Now he's got more speed. Now he's closer. Now he's got his nose in front. Russell Clark into 2nd place, but then the send.
What a move from Chastanoff. Absolutely on the limit there. Giving it the full send around the outside. The battle is on here, David.
It sure is. Still with a handful of laps in the bag. 3 to go as they cross the line now. Cameron Dance crossed the line 3.8 seconds in front of them. He puts in another 2.89, and Russell Clark is going to have another dig, a 2nd spoonful, another helping at turn number 1.
Well, Russell Clark also did a 2.09 that lap. Can't go anywhere with it, though. It's Chastanoff makes his Skippy about 5 car widths wide. Michael Skurlock is just waiting for his opportunity. Nathan Verney back there. Not as quick as these 3, but certainly not out of the mix the way they're battling right now. Elsewhere.
His personal best at a 209.1. But I don't think he's going to wrestle away the fastest lap as it goes.
Just Jason Fewins had a pretty rough race, hasn't he? Back there on 11th, he started. Either I've got short-term memory loss, or we didn't catch why Fewins is back in 11th.
I mean, he lost a handful of positions on lap 1, but he didn't lose a handful of time on lap 1. So
he's 37 seconds off at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, lapping considerably faster than everyone in front of him as well. Pit stop time normal, so he must have had some other gremlins after that
Just behind him, Melville and Jeffrey doing battle. And just up the road from Darren Lassou, you can just see it there as they're on board with Darren now. Jeffrey's lost a bit of time from Melville. Jeffrey actually lifted off up the hill. Not quite willing to be fully committed there. But we'll cast our eyes frontwards once more. As Chastity, Russell Clark and Michael Skurlock bring their battle to the 10th lap of the race. 2 laps to go at Virginia.
Couple movements in defense there, maybe, from Chateauneuf. But in the end, it is enough to hold the inside, keep Clark just behind him, and cover that off.
Despite holding a 4-second lead, Cameron Dance is showing no signs of letting off and cruising home. A fastest lap of the race for him there. 2:08.885. Ooh, Skurlock. Missed the apex considerably. Cost himself a little bit of time. He'll struggle to recoup that before Oak Tree. Here's Fewens and Felberg. Fewens has picked up 2 spots already since we last picked up on him. One of them was Wilkinson, who just made the pit stop, and the other one, Felberger's teammate. I doubt that was too difficult.
You never know, but Fewens, recovering now into 9th place, was going 1, 2, maybe almost 3 seconds a lap faster than the cars in the mid-pack. Really had that top 5 speed, but had found himself outside of the top 10. I think he's just run out of time to be able to catch Braden Martin or Jeremy Bush, though.
I said Skurlock has struggled to recoup his time lost by Oak Tree. Well, after Oak Tree is all good, because look at this. Oh, he's lifted off. You can see he got closer and closer to Clark, and then just stopped gaining as he backed off the throttle. Chastanov had pulled a few car lengths. He knew if he started to go side by side with Clark for a couple of corners, Chastanov would likely skip away, and 2nd place would be off the table. So a very wise decision there from Skurlock. But if he wants 2nd, he's going to have to make 2 moves on the final lap of the race. 1 lap to go for round 1 of the season. What a first round it has been. Cameron Dance holds a 3.999 second lead. A lock up from Chastanov there, David.
You mentioned he was always pushing the limits in the braking zone all around the track, and that is another example of it. He still made the corner, but he left some smoke. Melville, though, left some smoke, but didn't make the corner.
Lassou. Remember I said he could see that battle? Well, he's in that battle. Oh, steady on. I think that's Wilkinson. It is, who's rejoined after his pit stop. And is giving Lassou quite the incentive now. Should be able to pull this one off down in turn 1 late on the brakes. Almost coming together. Steady on, lads. And Lassou actually backs out of it. Let's go back to Chastanov and Clark. Look at this. Clark giving Chastanov a bit of his own medicine. We've seen Chastity. I'm going to start calling him Chastity now. We've seen him right on the back of others a few times today. Now Clark's doing it to him. Look for the exit out of Oak Tree.
Huge wiggle on the way in there, but manages to gather most of it up by the middle, but he's only 1 car length ahead of Russell Clark as they lead into the longest straight on the course. Surely Clark can get it done this time, get in front, and then cover off the corner once again. He should have the overspeed, surely.
Clears him now. He can move across if he wants. He starts edging back. He's just a little cautious, but he does it. Moves and takes the racing line through 13 and 14. Looking for a switchback of some sorts, but it's not working out nicely for him. James Chastanov. He might have to settle for 3rd step on the podium. Michael Skurlock just going to come up short, it seems. Up front, Cameron Dance goes back to back. He pulls a clean sweep at Virginia International Raceway. He wins race 2. And behind him, Chastanoff with the run, pulling alongside, but Russell Clark just fends him off. The gap at the line, 0.03 of a second.
Michael Skurlock, he got to that battle, but then wouldn't really do a whole lot on the final lap, unfortunately. Here is Bush under pressure from Braden Martin, though. Bush keeps it on track through the hog pen, and Braden Martin is going to close on the way to that checkered flag. Doesn't look like by enough.
Another close run to the line there. Jason Fewens will end up in P9. What about Lassou and Wilkinson? Well, Wilkinson's lost out there. Lassou's got by him. And in fact, Lassou's picked up 2 spots on this last lap. He was 15th. And he's now 13th. Matthew Joy has unfortunately retired from race 2 very late in the piece. Cameron
Dance
where
has decided
are you going?
to take the VIR North layout,
Oh, yeah.
where Champ Car raced just a couple of weeks ago.
So Cameron celebrates by driving very slowly. He's probably looking for a jump of some description. Let's look at our full race results then from race 2. Here at Virginia, it is Dance by 3.2 seconds in the end. He just let off on that last lap to ensure his victory over Russell Clark. James Chastanoff coming home in 3rd. Michael Skurlock and Nathan Vernier top 5. Matthew Mites, Jeremy Bush, Braden Martin, Jason Fewens, and Ira Felberg round out your top 10.
And then in the second half of the field, Mark Jeffrey moved up 2 spots. Scott Melville moved up 4 spots. Darren Lassou moved up 5 spots, some of them on the last lap. And then 14th was Peter Wilkinson, then Leon Williams, then Philip Bakatsoulis. Matthew Joy gets 17th place, but finished a lap down with some late race issues. And then it's Reg James in 18th, Sean Doyle 19th, Isaac Summers 20th. Those last 2 falling afoul quite early in the race.
So race 1 had the slipstream fest right up to the end, deciding the race. Race 2, as we so often see, you've got to nail that pit stop if you want to win the race, and that's exactly what Cameron Dance did. And he clean sweeps both races. Let's have a chat then to James Chastanoff, who had a very eventful, what I think is his debut in the series. Congratulations. Good run today.
Yeah, thanks guys. It's good to be here.
How'd you find it? Getting in amongst it. Qualifying 3rd for race 1. You were in the battle for a little while with 5 cars, then it quickly shut down to 2. How'd you manage it? Try to put yourself in the best spot at the best time.
I think I was just running ahead of where all the carnage happened, so I was probably lucky with all the slipstreaming going on. I wasn't back there, so I just called that lucky, really.
Hey, you need a bit of luck in a motorsport. Everyone knows this. And if you've got the pace, you've got the luck generally. At race 2, you let Cameron get away a little bit. That happened in the pit stop phase. Any ideas where you've lost that time on pit road?
I think it's the first time I've ever done a pit stop in those cars, so I think I just need a little bit of practice on where to actually brake to go into it, and then how to actually launch out of the box as well, so it's got a bit of work to do.
I've got bad news for you. Next week, you've got to get it slowed down from top speed over at Daytona, so have fun with that. You're going to want to practice that one.
Yeah, I'll practice that one.
But yeah, we do head to Daytona next week. It's going to be probably this, but on steroids, even more slipstreaming, and, well, nigh on impossible to get away with the massive flat-out sections we're going to have. What are your expectations heading there?
Probably more people up front, so it should be a pretty interesting race, so hopefully it's good for the viewers.
Well, if it's anything like today, it should be a lot of fun. You got anyone you want to thank? Any teams, family, friends?
Yeah, I just want to thank EMU Sim Racing, the Bander Alliance that we're associated with as well, Mum and Dad for watching at home.
Thank you very much. Yep. James, congratulations on a well run, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
James Chasty comes home with a round podium and a very good debut in the series. And as we've said so many times before, Cameron Dance wins race 1 and he wins race 2, and he's standing by with David Haynes.
Yeah, Cam, 2 from 2 to kick off the season. I think VIR doesn't get some of the love it deserves sometimes. How did you find it, and how does it go in the Skippy?
Oh, I absolutely love the track. It's actually really, really cool to drive, and like they say, it's kind of a mix between Bathurst, Nürburgring, and a few other tracks. So I absolutely love it, and it's really, really cool fun in the Skippy as well because you really get to throw the car around. But yeah, it's a little bit of a shame that it's underutilized because it's such a good track.
Good gamesmanship in the first couple laps at the peak of the field there, around about the pit stops. You know, you went for pit lane and then jumped out of it. Others did the same as well. You know, we always see a bit of a mixed bag, spanner in the works with the pit stop races. What was your plan at the start of the race, and how did you adjust it as you saw what other people were doing?
I was more or less playing to see what everybody else was going to do because of the fact that I started on pole, so it was kind of going to be more a reaction and pit after them rather than pit before them. But with the way that it all played out and then James got past me, it was more or less just a matter of pitting then and then blowing on by once they exited the lane. So yeah, it was not quite the strategy I actually had in mind, but it was worked out in the end.
You're off to a lightning start, and then we head to Daytona. Anything could happen there. Thoughts, predictions?
Well, it's definitely going to be a draft fest, that's for sure. And I don't know if I'm looking forward to it, if I'm terrified of it. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what to expect. But it's certainly going to be quite busy with the draft playing quite a factor and being possibly a bit of carnage as well on the run to the line.
You're off to the perfect start in Ozicar Skip Barber Series. You are the man to chase, the man to beat now. Who are you going to thank?
First of all, shout out to Ira for putting on the series and all the boys for the awesome racing tonight. And obviously everybody on the car, Hype Stimulator, Kiwi Simulators, Texan Sensors, Renville Harnesses, Demon Tweaks, Fight Colorectal Cancer. You guys for putting on an awesome broadcast, and all the boys back in Fitstyle for all the hard work in the end.
Maybe one or two of them were tuned in as well. Thanks for making the time for us, as you always do, Cam. And we'll see you in 7 days' time.
We'll do, guys.
Cameron Dance there with the first and the second. I think we should be a bit further up on Cameron's list of thanks that he has. I mean, we do have to put up with him.
It's saving the best for last, that's what it is.
Ah, yeah, you're right, of course. Day in, day out, we put up with Cameron, gloating about his wins in these series. But that is all for tonight. Next week at the same time, 6:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time, 7:30 Daylight Saving Time, and figure it out if you're in Perth or New Zealand or South Australia or anywhere else around the world. We are headed to Daytona. Same format, same good old fun. The Ozicar Formula Skip Barber Series shall be back right here on Simspeed TV. Make sure to go and like Simspeed Esports Network and Ozicar on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all the rest. And subscribe to us here on YouTube as well. From all of us tonight, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rhythm, both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my God!
Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go.
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?